A very good morning to you. Welcome to a brand new sunrise here at Idea Morning Digest, right here on Idea TV. Wherever you are, we are so glad to be part of your morning. My name is Chinatu Oji and I'm not alone. I have the melanin popping Cynthia Basi, who will be doing justice to all the conversations we have this morning with me. Hi Cynthia, how are you?
Good morning, Chinatu. Welcome.
There's a lot happening and we're just talking behind here about Nigeria versus Trump, exactly. And of course there's going to be a whole lot of that really on the program.
Okay, if you'd like to be part of this conversation, we know you like to. You can join the conversations at Idea Television, all our social media handles, and of course send in your opinions, your comments to us via our email at ideatvlimited@gmail.com. Like I always tell you, we want to hear from you.
Well, you heard Cynthia. We love to hear and read from you, so do not hold those thoughts, do not hold those responses that you have. But before we go on a break, let's quickly look at the reviews that we have of the news reviews that we'll be looking at this morning. And we're starting out with U.S. lawmakers move to sanction 12 Nigerian governors, top officials override concerns.
And Afrexim Bank partners with Ogun State to boost fabric processing and industrial groups.
Imo community abolishes outcast system, ends decades of discrimination.
While Tanzania president declares 98% election victory amid protests and internet blackouts.
Well, this and more interesting conversation will be what you get when we return from this break. Do well to stay with us.
Number 2, advanced neurotechnology beyond BCIs. Brain-computer interfaces grabbed headlines when Neuralink implanted its first chip in 2024. But neurotechnology is much broader. Researchers are testing non-invasive brain stimulation to treat depression and PTSD, while companies like Kernel are developing helmets that can monitor brain activity with unprecedented detail. Clinical trials are exploring personalized brain therapies for epilepsy and Alzheimer's. In 2023, the U.S. NIH launched its Brain Initiative 2.0, investing billions in advanced neurotech. By 2026, these innovations could expand from medical use into wellness and cognitive enhancement.
Welcome back. Let's head into the stories. Now, starting out with the story from the U.S., 12 Nigerian governors, prominent traditional rulers, and senior judges may soon face sanctions from the United States Congress over alleged complicity in what American lawmakers describe as the persecution of Christians and the enforcement of blasphemy laws in northern Nigeria. According to reports from Washington, the proposed bill currently before the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee seeks to impose visa bans and asset freezes on individuals accused of human rights violations under Nigeria's Sharia and blasphemy laws. If passed, the measure could extend beyond political leaders to include traditional and judicial figures allegedly complicit in what the U.S. describes as systemic religious persecution. Analysts say the move could strain diplomatic relations between Abuja and Washington, especially as Nigeria remains on the U.S. country of particular concern list for religious freedom violations, a designation first introduced under the Trump administration and reinstated by several U.S. lawmakers in recent times. While the Nigerian government has yet to issue an official statement, sources within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs suggest that diplomatic channels are being explored to address the concerns raised in the U.S. Congress. As the debate unfolds, observers say the development could reopen discussions on human rights, freedom of religion, and Nigeria's justice system, issues that have long drawn attention from both local and international rights groups. Oh, well, just over the weekend we saw a very striking tweet from U.S. President Donald Trump, and in that tweet he categorized Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and he highlighted that there is an ongoing killing of Christians slaughtered in Nigeria. And so, I mean, one would begin to wonder how all of a sudden, why is Donald Trump interested in Nigerian case? But then you also realize that there are a lot of people who have been, ever since the killing started, and this is not like the killing just started in 2025. There's been problem. There's been killing in the northern part of Nigeria, and a lot of people have been involved regardless of religion. Muslims have been killed, Christians have been killed, but there's been killing. We have to establish that fact. And so I was just telling Cynthia that the reason why people are looking up to Trump now like the saviors, because they are frustrated by their government. They've looked up onto their governors, and the governors have disappointed some of them. They've looked up to their chairman, and they've done nothing. And so they started crying out. You could see hashtags trending. You could see people making videos and calling on President Donald Trump to intervene, that there is a case of killing in Nigeria that, if nothing is done, could cause a whole lot of damage. I mean, we've seen very sad videos. I must describe it as that, very eyesore videos, and you're seeing young children hung on trees after they are killed, and you begin to wonder, what kind of country is this? What kind of country would allow this type of killing to go on? And so I do not blame those who cried out for help. But the big question is Trump the solution to our problem? Because I believe that, I know we're going to talk about this more in the discussion segment, but I want to round off with this. I believe that we can fix our own problems. We do not really need external powers to come in. But the problem is there is a lack of accountability, there is no transparency, and there is that unwilling spirit among some of our leaders. And so what do? We get to suffer every time. We get to die for nothing.
Chino, so this is not the first designation. I think this is the first major open one by President Donald Trump. I think it's Nigeria has been on the watch list for a very long time over security issues. I mean, I think it was in 2021 when under President Biden, that's the then former president of the U.S., delisted Nigeria. Nigeria removed us from that list. But then, like you said, has killings been going on? Yes, it has. Is it just Christians that are being killed? No. We are Nigerians and we know what is happening in Nigeria. Our problems are peculiar to us. And in short, when it even comes to security issues, security concerns are not even just peculiar to just Nigerians. It's peculiar to all over the world, and even the US. And then, are Muslims being killed as well? Yes, Muslims are being killed in the far north, in most northern states in Nigeria. So I am not invalidating his stance on this issue. The motivation behind coming to Nigeria and doing all of that is very good at this point in time. But the angle from which he is coming from is what I fear, is what I have not trusted particularly, is what I have not trusted very well. Because when we talk about Nigeria issue, I think if we look at it very well, it's a human rights concern at this point in time. It's more than just Christians are killing, Muslims are killing Christians. It's not a religious war. I do not really think it's a religious war in Nigeria, because if you go to the far north, if you live in the north, if you have lived in the north, if you still live in the north, I mean, people there can attest to this, that people are being killed. Human beings are being killed. So if you want to tackle an issue, you don't tackle it from one side. You cannot be one-sided with, all of these things. I think most of these issues are deeply rooted in economic issues more than religious conflicts. But then, like you say, we'll talk about it more in the discussion segment. So I don't exhaust what I want to say, so we'll move with time. But then the next story we have here, Afrexim Bank. The African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim Bank, has announced plans to partner with the Ogun State government to finance the development of a fabric processing zone as part of efforts to promote industrialization and value addition across Africa. Speaking at his swearing-in ceremony, the new president of Afrexim Bank, George Elombi, reaffirmed the bank's commitment to ending the export of raw commodities from the continent. He said the focus of his administration will be on domestic processing and the creation of industries that turn raw materials into finished products. Elombi declared that Afrexim Bank will create a new high-impact financing window dedicated to projects that process raw minerals into semi-finished or finished goods. He added that a strategic minerals development program will soon be established to finance entire value chains from extraction and refining to manufacturing. The Afrexim Bank president also highlighted infrastructure as a major barrier to intra-African trade. He said the bank plans to accelerate investment in trade-enabling infrastructure, including modern seaports, highways, railways, and logistics hubs to better connect African markets. According to him, priority will be given to infrastructure that links production centers to markets, helping to unlock trade potential, boost job creation, and reduce the cost of doing business across the continent. Now, I feel like this is the kind of partnership we want to see. I mean, since the beginning of this year, we've been hearing the push for intra-African trade to further strengthen it and solidify it, and we are seeing this with this. But Africa, when we talk about raw materials, when we talk about especially textile, when we talk about textile, Africa contributes just, should I say, up to 3%, when it comes to global trade, and that's about like 1.9%, if I'm getting the maths correctly here, to global manufacturing output. So Nigeria is only right, Ogun State is only right to, come out and say they want to do this. And Nigerians are the biggest, exporters of, the largest economy and the biggest exporters of raw materials, of, oil. We have seen a whole lot of things Nigerians have, exported. But then we have that problem of not being able to refine our product. We have that problem of not being able to refine them into finished goods, and this is what I see here that Ogun State is trying to do. And Ogun State, I can say I commend them, because we've seen a lot of industrial activity coming from that, and with the Agbara textile, Agbara Estate textile industry, and so many other free trade activities going on or coming from Ogun State, and adding a fabric industry or a processing hub. I think it's a step in the right direction, and could connect Nigeria's textile revival plan. Because growing up, I've always heard that Nigeria employs up to 500,000 people in the textile industry, and now we cannot even boast of 20,000, people in that sector. So I see what Ogun State is doing here, reviving local processing. It means restoring lost jobs. It means, reviving our economy. It means also conserving foreign exchange too, if we want to look at it from that angle. And also, I think it's also going to build our momentum and self-reliance too, because we've been talking about growing Nigeria, buying Nigeria, growing Nigeria, and buying Nigeria also to grow Nigeria. So I just feel like we always have a but, which is always the elephant in the room, and which we must address. We cannot do all of these things if we do not have the right infrastructure, if we do not have the right power. Industries cannot be revived, they cannot survive if we have erratic power, electricity power supply, and all of those things. So I think affecting banks' move to invest in that sector to enable infrastructure boom, putting infrastructure, the right infrastructure in the right places, like ports. They are reviving most railways, they are reviving major highways, and we are seeing a whole lot of things. All of these things are things that connect, trade. I think it is crucial at this point in time. And yes, like I said, it's a step in the right direction.
Nothing with this body. The government goes after with this body. The government goes after 4 or 8 years, as the case may be. And then a new government comes, enters into new partnerships, and doesn't continue from where that project stopped. So there's usually that discontinuity. And if you must attain long-term progress, you cannot afford to be having cut and join progress. No. So if they are going to focus on seaport, I feel like they want to take everything at the same time. They're fixing the railway, they're fixing the seaport, they are building textile infrastructure, whatever that is. Can we be very transparent? Can we actually put our legs to the ground and say, yes, we are fixing this and we're going through to see it to the latter, and not just say, oh, we have this partnership, that there's an MOU that is now signed, and nothing really tangible. I'm not saying it's not going to be tangible, but look at cases. We've seen a lot of cases of similar issues. There's a partnership, then there are promises, hopes are raised high, and after a while you do not see anything happen. It took continuity, for instance.
No, go ahead.
It took continuity for I'm going to give an example. Look at what happened to Tinapa. Look at what happened to Cattle Ranch in Cross River State. Very laudable ideas. But after a certain government went, there was that shift, there was that break in transmission. Because it felt like, this is not my area of interest. This is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in building spaghetti flyovers. I'm interested in doing other things. I'm interested in building too many highways. So I understand that many governments come in with their own vision, with their own ideas. But can we build rooms for continuity? Because I'm sure that when we collaborate like this and there is continuity, I'm saying this because this is not a project that can be attained in just a year. It's very possible that the sitting government would have to finish their term and it won't be achieved. So if there's no continuity, then we are just wasting our time. You're going to say something?
No, I wanted to say I think this is a new regime with the affecting bank, so I think let's just keep our hopes high and see what comes out of there.
Totally agree with you.
We've been seeing works from Togo ports, Benin ports, that's the same, even some borders, and seeing what they're trying to do, and even the Abuja, Lagos, Calabar Coastal Highway. I think those are all of the things that are trying to connect these streets. Let's see where they go with it.
Okay, on to the next story now. In a landmark move towards social equality and inclusion, the traditional leaders of Oguta in Imo State have officially abolished a centuries-old outcaste system known locally as Ohu. The declaration made on Sunday by Chief Nduka Odueni, the Organa and spokesman of the traditional ruler Ezenani Ezenyichi, marks the end of a long history of discrimination and social division in the Oguta community. According to Chief Odueni, the decision followed years of dialogue and advocacy led by the Oguta Ohu Education Dialogue Group, a coalition of scholars, professionals, clergy, and community leaders who work tirelessly to unite the town behind a shared vision of equality. He stated that the caste system, which for generations restricted social interaction, marriage, and leadership opportunities for certain families, had no place in a modern and just society. He described the move as a historic moment of renewal and unity for Oguta, adding that the community can now move forward free from stigma and division. The chairman of the Oguta Ohu Eradication Dialogue Group, Chief Mike Ogbonna, expressed joy over the decision, saying it took the collective efforts of indigents at home and abroad to achieve what he described as a dream long overdue. Ogbonna noted that the system caused deep emotional and social pain, denying individuals their dignity, and described its abolition as a victory for justice and progress. Also speaking, Professor Lawrence Okosa, a Catholic priest and member of the group, commended the proclamation, declaring that every Oguta indigent is now equal before God and man. He called on other traditional rulers across Igbo land to emulate Oguta's example by abolishing similar caste systems still practiced in their communities. The ceremony was witnessed by representatives of the Catholic Archbishop of Owerri, Most Reverend Lucius Ugoji, and the Anglican Bishop of Oguta Diocese, Bishop Ochijuke Oti, as well as traditional title holders, religious leaders, and prominent indigenes of Oguta from across Nigeria and the diaspora. Well, that's that for Imo State, and I'm very excited for these news, because if you come from the eastern part of Nigeria, you'd realize how the kind of stigma that the outcast system carries. God forbid that you are sent out of the community. The way it is done, Trinta, let me describe. If you've done something that is considered an abomination, people would gather. If you're a woman, a lot of men would gather, and then you'd be in front, and they carry broom, they carry leaves, they carry things, and they sweep you off. That's what it means. So they're chasing you out of that community, and you cannot come back. Sometimes you're not even allowed to pick anything of yours from the village. So you're sent out. And what that means is you can't find love in that community, you can't find a job, you cannot build in that community, you can't do anything again. You are now an outsider, you're a total stranger. And do you know how heartbreaking it is to be sent away from home? I mean, you've known this place all your life as home. So we're now in modern times. This is 2025, and we now believe that if I have done something that needs to be tried, try me in court. If I need to go to jail, let me go to jail. But do not deny me my ancestry. Do not deny me of my roots. Because imagine a person who doesn't have a root. That person is empty. And so I'm particularly excited about this story, because that high level of stigma that has existed in some eastern parts of Nigeria, where you cannot associate with a certain kind of people. You're even told by your parents, oh, you cannot go to that family. I mean, it's just one person who committed the crime, but you are not allowed to associate with them. You're not allowed to go to the stream when they go. So many things. When I go to the village, sometimes they are just told, oh, you can't go there, and they're telling you, oh, because this person. You're hearing the stories, and we're supposed to live in unity and harmony, and this is just in one village. So imagine the kind of disunity and dysfunction that grows from a certain community and get into the world. Like we always say, the family is the smallest unit of the society. The society is the bigger picture. But if things are not done or gotten right at home, what kind of society will we be breeding? A society that is divided against itself. Because sometimes some of these people who've done these things, in many cases, there are not things that warrant about, banishing them from the community. There are things that could have been fixed, but because of long-standing culture and tradition, we hold on to it and say, it has to be like this, and if it's not like this, you have to be banished. And what do they face? They face a lot of stigma, and sometimes they have to find a way to run out of the country because they can't stand their own people. They can't stand themselves. They fall into depression. I've heard stories of people who were banished from their communities and they fell into depression and just died. And these are cases that were not major. When you hear some of the stories that were not major, there are things that could have been forgiven. But because culture is culture, and that's why I like to say that law is made for man, not man for the law. And so because man is not made for the law, we can always switch the laws. When the laws begin to keep us at a point where we can no longer breathe for nothing, then you can always fix the law. So I'm happy that light has come to Oguta community, and I hope that other communities follow suit. Cynthia.
I think this is a very, very, very strong cultural transformation, and it's very important to recognize the courage behind this decision, which I admire a lot. Tradition is a very sensitive thing in Nigeria when we look at it. I mean, we have so many cultural differences. Even in the same, setting in one community, we still have different cultural differences, and some that even stand as, barriers and often lead to clashes, and also dent on our human rights and, of course, our values. Well, then, this is not the first time that they have pushed to, sort of achieve peace with this issue that have been a long-standing one. But then we like that this time around there has been a community consensus and everybody has agreed. It's brought together, clergymen, professionals, educationists, many scholars and, whatnot to come together, form this group and reach a consensus, a communal one. And, I feel like this shows how intellectual and moral leadership can reshape culture. That's why we push for education. That's why we talk about education. When we talk about education, it's for us to use them when it comes to, use the knowledge we have, use the understanding we have, use the information you have for cases like this, for issues like this. And like I said before, I applaud this decision. It's a real test of how, even if culture must exist, it must exist correctly, and we must, stand with all morality of it. I mean, I know they say in culture, what is morally right to you may be morally wrong to another person, but at the end of the day, what brings us together as a people is when we live in unison. But then I also have a concern, still talking about education as well, where the real test of this declaration is going to come is in our daily life, because stigma cannot just vanish into thin air. So I feel like there needs to be more, education, reorientation, inform people, let people be aware when they go for village meetings, let them tell people, even the town criers, if some villages or communities still uses that, tell people, let them be aware that this is no longer, allowed in our communities again, so people will be aware of that, because true abolition requires cultural education, like I'm emphasizing education. It requires cultural education. It requires, especially youths, because they are the ones coming. I mean, Nigeria have its largest population as the youth, so we have to create that equality beginning with the youth. Since the older generation have deemed fit to come together and say we want to, foster peace, then we should also inform the youth. People should be assigned to different things, educate ourselves, spread the news all over for all the, people from those communities. I think this is, and anyway it is being practiced, I think this is a call to action for other communities still practicing this. Let them take cite examples from this and, do what is necessary. But altogether, I think this is a very monumental step. Cynthia, and I like it.
Thank you. Before you head on to the next story, I just wanted to add that while this is peculiar to some people in the eastern part of Nigeria, there are certain cultures that is not like this. But there's, for instance, we still have in some cultures, people still practice female genital circumcision. People still practice FGM. And
another one I saw recently, I've forgotten the name, but it's to closed the labia or something. I was very surprised when I saw that. And it's
So there are still some of those very barbaric cultures that we hold here, and I do not think that they should fly. So it's not just about banishing people. If you belong to a community or a culture where the wife, after the husband is dead, is being forced to marry the husband's brother against her will, or she's asked to go out if she doesn't have a male child, I hope you know that that is barbaric. This is 2025. All of those cultures shouldn't stand anymore. So be the, how do we call this? Be the advocate for change wherever you find yourself, and ensure that those kind of inequalities, those kind of things should not be found around you. We're looking for a new Nigeria. The president says it's renewed hope agenda. So let us renew the hopes of people. But answer the next story.
Okay. So we move to Tanzania, where Tanzania's president, Samia Suluhu Hassan, has been declared winner of last Wednesday's election in 98%, with 98% of the vote. However, the opposition has rejected the results, describing the election as a sham. The main opposition party, Chadema, which was barred from contesting, has called for fresh elections, accusing security forces of killing hundreds of protesters following the disputed vote. A total internet blackout remains in place across the country, limiting the flow of verifiable information. Diplomatic sources say hospitals have recorded hundreds, possibly thousands of deaths, though these figures cannot be independently verified. State television announced that President Hassan's inauguration will take place at the State House in Dodoma without public attendance, breaking with tradition. Schools and public transport remain shut, and heavy security has been reported in major cities, including Dar es Salaam. Reports suggest police are using the internet shutdown to track down protesters and opposition members accused of recording incidents of violence. Rights groups have condemned what they described as a wave of terror leading up to the polls, including abduction and intimidation of political opponents. The United Nations has expressed deep concern over the post-election violence, while Pope Leo XIV has urged Tanzanians to reject violence and embrace dialogue. Samia Suluhu Hassan, who became president in 2021 following the death of her predecessor John Magufuli, was seeking to strengthen her political authority within the ruling party through this election. For now, calm has returned to most parts of the country under tight security, but questions remain about the legitimacy of the vote and the fate of those missing since the unrest began. I mean, I've been following this. I'm laughing, but
see, this is a very interesting political journey in Tanzania.
In
what?
Africa.
In Africa? What is this? This woman? No.
From Cameroon
No.
to Madagascar.
No.
To now to Tanzania.
I don't know which is worse.
I think the last time Tanzanians enjoyed, a stable democracy was under Julius Nyerere.
Yeah, Julius
I
Nyerere.
mean, since then, in recent years, we've seen that democracy have drifted towards tighter state control in Tanzania. We've seen a lot of opposition bans, a lot of widespread arrests. Currently now, they're experiencing internet blackout. And that paints a very grim picture to me, because we are talking about freedom of expression. And when we talk about freedom of expression, we are not just talking about any democratic society must exercise freedom of expression, must exercise freedom of speech. When they talk of freedom of speech, people think they're speaking to the press alone, not just the press. To you and I as citizens, you have the right to freedom of speech. And like I said, I don't know if it's because a lot of Africans do not really have civic, education and do not understand their civic responsibilities. That's why we let some of these things.
Cynthia, they have. It's fear.
I think it's familiar to most African countries.
Cynthia, there's something I like you to know. If you teach somebody how to fish, you know that they'll become fishermen. But if you just keep giving them fish, you teach them to be dependent. And if you look at the trajectory of many African leaders, they do not give us their hand. They just show us something. They show us a shadow. And we have to keep depending on them. Look at what this woman did. The major opponent party, the opposition party in Tanzania, Chadema, what happened? Disqualified. major opponents in Tanzania arrested. And how can you say that that election was free and fair? How can you? It doesn't make any sense. And then you want people. So the problem I have with some Africans is that when they get the opportunity, some of the people who clamor for change, they get into that seat of power and they become so distracted that they start thinking only about their family. They start thinking about their family. You think that, oh, you're here, you're going to be the advocate, you're going to... Some of the people who make noise on Twitter, you go online and you're seeing them raising banners and doing things. Give them that power. I know a particular young man who has been very active, dragging one particular person. And recently I saw him and the person he was dragging. They were having lunch. And he's back here sharing, you know, telling us about how this person is very qualified. And you're thinking to yourself, is this a kind of government? Because they found a way to control the people. If somebody's controlling your life, they're detecting whatever you do. Imagine somebody who's controlling what you do, what you eat, how you say whatever you say. They use the power. So the problem is not that Africans do not know their civic right. They have a problem of they are under... oppression is very strong, but it is... You're so reliant on your helpers. It's just like somebody who is a slave. There is a house for you to stay, probably food to eat, probably water, but your limitation, you're very limited even in that space. You cannot really have the right that other people have. A son and a son, there are two sons, a son and a slave in the same house do not have the same right, but they're under the same roof. So the Nigerian or the African case is like slave cases between for our leaders. Most of our leaders use power to intimidate us. So you speak up, they lock you up. And if you speak up, Cynthia, and and then you're locked up, do you expect me to speak up? I love my life. I want to believe. So I may not speak up, and it's not because I do not know my rights. I just want peace to reign. At least let me just manage.
I mean, like, it's very worrying.
It's very worrying. I won't lie.
Because I think the use of this internet blackout these days, I mean, in recent times, it's like the new modern authoritarian tool to, you know, suppress and, you know, oppress people. I mean, it's in how many, like, there's been over 100, up to 182 internet shutdowns in 34 countries in 2023 till now, to 2025 alone. And when we look at them, they are mostly during elections, mostly during protests. I mean, these tactics, I don't know where these tactics is
to shut the people up.
I mean, the irony that even sits here is that President Samia is, for long, she has this global image, because after Mugufuli's hard, you know, territorial, authoritarian, as Tanzanians called it, rulership, she came on board and she was seen as the reformer. I mean, that was how she presented herself to the people. Also, she's the first female president.
That's why I'm even very sad.
So all of those things, that one sets the tone again. So everybody felt, okay, she's setting the tone to a more softer, you know, lane and all of those things. But then what we are seeing again is another power consolidation. And it's very worrisome. It's very worrisome to me, because this thing is trampling on reforms. You know, that incumbent face of real political threats here, if we look at it. But then, what am I going to say? Africa's problem is, I think it's not just about bad leaders. I said that when we're talking about the Cameroon issue. Africa's problem is not just about bad leaders. Like you mentioned, yes, the people may not, you know, we cannot blame the people completely that they do not know and understand their civic rights, because even those that try to exercise it, I mean, they get, you know, toned down. But then, weak institutions, you know, all of these are things that enables bad leadership. Oh, let's see how the story unfolds in Tanzania. I want to see what's going to happen, you know, where the story leads us. Well, then that's the last story we have for today. Let's take the recaps of the headlines we brought to you.
U.S. lawmakers move to sanction 12 Nigerian governors, top officials override concerns.
We brought to you news that affects bank partners with Ogun State to boost fabric processing and industrial growth.
And you also heard that Imo community abolishes outcaste system, ends decades of discrimination.
And lastly, Tanzania president declares 98% election victory amid protests and internet blackouts.
Oh, well, let's go on this break now. When we return on the other side, it'll be time for our discussion. Stay with us.
Number 6, 6G networks and beyond. 5G is still rolling out worldwide, but work on 6G is already in motion. South Korea, Japan, and Finland are leading trials, with commercial deployment expected around 2030. 6G aims to use terahertz frequencies to deliver speeds up to 100 times faster than 5G and latency to expand coverage too. These networks are targeting rural areas, disaster zones, and developing countries where laying fiber is too costly. But they also raise new challenges, like orbital congestion and light pollution affecting astronomy. By 2026, satellite internet will be more than a backup. It will be part of everyday global infrastructure. Number 6, digital twin.
That's true. Welcome back to the Idea Morning Digest. It's now, if you're just joining us, we've been following one of the biggest developing stories, growing international concern and reaction over reports of persecution and insecurity in Nigeria, and the controversial statement from President Donald Trump hinting at possible military action against perpetrators. It has triggered a wave of reactions from Nigerians at home and abroad, from political figures to private citizens, all pointing to one central issue: Nigeria's security and the rising concern about how the world perceives our internal crisis, which brings us to our focus this morning: security, sovereignty, and global perception. Can Nigeria reinvent its domestic security system before the world intervenes? And that's the conversation we must have this morning. And I wanted to introduce a guest, but no, it's Cynthia. Cynthia, beyond the rhetoric, beyond the politics, what does this moment teach us about reforming Nigeria's security system? There's a whole lot of question that comes to mind if you've been following the story, if you've been seeing the lifeless bodies of people, of children, of pregnant women, of boys. Nobody is actually exempted. Everybody is just going down. We've seen videos of people crying out for help. Don't you think that this call out from Donald Trump is coming from a place of aid? I mean, look at the people who are crying out. Most of them said, Donald Trump has come to our rescue. They actually called him, because I'm here thinking that these people relied on the system that they know, they relied on the government that they know, and because nothing could be done, they had to seek help outside. It's like a person who is drowning. All of you sank in the same boat. Are you not supposed to float and find a way to get help? Sure. What do you think?
I think beyond, we are very aware of Nigeria's security, concerns and security issues. Very, very much aware. I don't think there's any government that has come into power that have not talked about how they want to tackle insecurity in Nigeria. I mean, insecurity in Nigeria is even bigger than us now, because it's not just about the Taliban's militias, banditry and whatnot. Is bigger than us. It's even in our domestic areas. I mean, the other day we were talking about how people are being nabbed in the ShopRite at Lube. So this insecurity issue in Nigeria is bigger than us. But I feel like this crisis of when where I'm particularly concerned is when a partner nation like the US publicly argues that it might use force inside another nation's border. That is what borders mean now. Yes, that is because, I mean, you fail to stop attacks. There are other civic ways, there are other civil ways rather, that other diplomatic ways.
What he's saying is that, what they are saying is that they want to deploy their troops to face the terrorists.
First of all, it was Ministry of Defense. How do they call it? Defense, whatever. And he changed it to Ministry of War. That's where that's the first problem with this. From Ministry of Defense, President Trump changed it to Ministry of War. Okay, why is it from Ministry of Defense to Ministry of War? And then you are now employing all your preparation committee team to, yeah. I mean, if we read, there's this particular comment I want to share, not this one that is in circulation the most, and it says, this is from President Donald Trump X. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns are blazing, in quotes, to completely wipe out the Islamists. That's now disgraceful country, number one. Immediate assistance, and all of those things. I hereby instruct our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be best, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorists and thugs attack our cherished Christians. Warning, the Nigerian government. Yes, this is a call to action. Yes, this is a beautiful step towards ensuring there is peace all over the world. But then, is security issues all over the world? Are there security issues and concerns all over the world, even including the US? Yes, there is. What should we use to tackle this issue? A more civil and diplomatic approach. You cannot tell another country that you are going to invade. I feel like that is wrong. That is you invading another people's territory wrongly, in as much as the US have rights to, call sanctions, instruct invasions and whatnot. But let's check precedents. How many countries, Afghanistan, there's Libya, how many of these countries, there's more of them, I cannot begin to mention all of them, how many of these countries that the USA have invaded have turned out well? I mean, let's check all of these things. I think I'll start with that. Let me concise my thoughts.
Okay. Cynthia, it's very disturbing with the news that we are seeing today. I don't know how I felt since the weekend when all of this broke out. And a lot of people are saying that, yes, let them come in. Since we're not able to protect our people, since the government of Nigeria was not able to protect the territory, then let them come in. Have we not been clamoring for help since? Because, I mean, if you think about it, they've been sending us funds to buy arms, to buy equipment for war. So if they can come in and now neutralize I'm even thinking, if you people really want to help without any agenda, then go to Sambisa first, neutralize the problem there, fix the problem and go. It saves us billions of naira. It saves Nigerians billions of naira. But what I do not know is, I am not sure that the US would come in without an extra plan, without an agenda. But if there's no agenda and they are really willing to help, then go to Sambisa Forest.
Which he clearly stated.
Go to Sambisa Forest.
And they are coming to invade. And he's already testing war.
Because this thing you are thinking that is like play. All of us like this. It will touch everybody.
It will touch everybody.
Actually.
I was speaking to somebody yesterday, and I mean,
you can't guess.
Everybody have taken their own stance on it. I see so many Nigerians on the internet. They were happy about
it's
it.
It's frustration.
Like, you cannot allow, no matter how your country is, you cannot allow an external body to come and put a name on your country. One, it is very wrong. If we contest the legitimacy of his statement, it is very, very wrong. I mean, we know that President Trump is not one with good choice of words, but then I don't see how we can fix a problem without catalyzing it well, without having proper dialogues. You just instruct and you want to invade and you are sovereignty of another country. Sanction 12. I mean, the U.S. Embassy is already talking about it, that they have not come out to say, yes, this is what is going on. And the Foreign Ministry, Ministry of Affairs are also in the talks about it. They want to sanction 12 northern this thing.
And do you know what's even annoying? We do not have ambassadors to US from Nigeria. That's another thing from Nigeria. So there's a lot of, when you spoke about that, no dialogue, no diplomacy, and I'm like, where's that gap supposed to be when we do not have When this government came in, that was dismissed. So where is that conversation supposed to take place? People do not know what they're really clamoring for, but trust me, I understand them. If you've lost a loved one, you would look for help because you're frustrated that imagine that you report to the police. Police is telling you, he was on this program, somebody shared that, how he was robbed and he called police for help. Police doing everything. So there are people who have had very sad experiences, and do you think that that kind of person sees somebody is going to help him in the next case of robbery, he would say no? You would jump on it. So many of the Nigerians who are coming from a place of restlessness, they're clamoring from a place of distrust, frustration. They do not know what else to do. They don't know how safe they are anymore, and they think that, oh, these are superpowers. So let them come in and fix the issue. But what they do not know is that it is going to have a long-term effect on us. Yes. And of course, I know that there are very funny videos of people saying, which resources do we have? I mean, I just showed Cynthia one because people also saying that, as they're coming in, they have an agenda to take over our resources. And people are showing that we have dirty waters, bad roads, and these are the resources. People are now highlighting this problem. And this is the issue. We have a government.
You are not even aware of what your country have.
We have a government that if they take law into, no, not take law into their hands, but if they willingly step up and do what they need to do. I've told Cynthia time and time again, we know our problem. The problem is the heart to fix it, the willingness to fix it. We have leaders who know. Some of them even tell us, they come on air to tell us that, oh, they're negotiating, you're negotiating with the people who are terrorists. That means you know them. So if you know them, why can't you neutralize them? Why? And so you see, this one is arguing, oh, let us not give them ransom, let's give them ransom. If you give them ransom, it will chase them away. This one is saying, no, if you give them ransom, it will make them emboldened. We are not ready. And that is why, because we couldn't fix our house, external people are now coming in to fix the problem for us. And you know what the slap here is? It has given us a very global scar. Calling Nigeria a country of particular concern means that you as Nigerian, when you step out of the shores of this country, you are looked a certain way. There is a shame that is now attached to you. You are no longer just a Nigerian, you're a person of particular concern. It means that if somebody's pen is missing, you're the first person they're looking at. I mean, we already have bad PR.
Such statements.
We already have bad PR. And so Trump saying this emboldens that and forces more of that, which is not right. Trust me, which is not right. And I'm so hoping that President Bola Tinubu steps into action and ensure that the territories are protected, the lives of citizens are really protected, because that is what should be done. You are the grand commander of the armed forces. You know what to do, Mr. President. We've seen tweets before of during when former President Goodluck Jonathan was in power. And I saw grand ideas from the current sitting president about how the killing shouldn't be going on and the kind of things that should be done. And I'm really hoping that those ideas can now come into play. Because sometimes you need to
even push for the impeachment of the
yes.
Of Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes, he spoke about it that no, you cannot be in power and this kind of thing is going on now, sir. You are in power. Please, let us see how these issues can be solved. People are crying out, and when you beat a child, you do not expect to tell the child how to cry. That's the problem. These people who are coming out to make these claims online, they are not mere claims. They are people who have lost families. Look at what happened just close to us here. A lot of people were killed. If I know a young girl who lost all her father, her 3 siblings, she's the only one who wasn't killed because she was not around. How do you expect, if that kind of person, Donald Trump, gets to speak to her, she'll say, please help me. That is the issue. So we can fix a problem if we sit down to fix it. We may not need external forces, but if we keep doing like this, then we are opening up our pores and opening up our borders to let other people come in and fix the problem.
I like that you have spoken well about that sense of ownership, and this is where I'm saying we should have that sense of ownership, because, you know, what are we doing with state policing? There was a time there's, what do they call it, Peace Corps. There are so many things that have been brought and I've not heard about them again. There's these vigilante groups, and I've seen what these vigilante groups are doing. So I think it is that time that we have to, you know, see how we can decentralize power. We can decentralize power that is given to some of these security agents. Spread it. Let it be without standards. Let it be without oversight. Find a way to, you know, integrate it with national systems and see how they can help, manage some of these situations. Because if we talk about it from just the national level, how many things can police? We saw what happened in Benue State. Policemen were being attacked as well, and the people of that community commended their efforts. That they did a lot. After that's happening, they even caught some of the terrorists. So you can tell that our police are doing well, but they are not. They need decentralization. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to come from one channel. Rather, it should come from different channels. There should be different. What is the civil defense doing? Find a way to decentralize these state powers when it comes to security. Let's see how we can train them. What is the mode of recruitment? Is it the one that you go? I mean, people are entering all of these security forces without their own will, out of their own will. Let it be something that comes out of people's will, so they will be ready to account for their decisions. And another thing again, what are we using technology for? That's another thing I want to even talk about. What are we using AI for? What are we using drones for? What are we using all of these things for? This is where we have to amplify technology, the use of technology. I mean, I don't know. We have been battling with the issue of technology amplifies, existing weaknesses and whatnot. But then we know the good of these things. Why can't we just tilt to the goods of these things? See how we can use them to help target, help monitor. Most of these are security challenges. We can fight this without external infiltrations. We can fight this on our own. We can I don't even want to use the word fight. We can tackle this situation. We can manage this situation. If I'm not saying we do not need external support or help to an extent, but it must come from a diplomatic and civil standpoint, not from it comes out to me like a warning. Like, Nigerians needs to be on their toes at this point in time, because we know President Donald Trump, when he says something, he does it. We are seeing that with tariff. We are seeing what he's doing. I mean, we're seeing the attacks with China these days of all of those chips, and how he's banning NVIDIA. I mean, China is having let's take example from China. I want Nigerians to take example from China. China's problem is peculiar to ours before, but now where is China? China is self-sufficient at this point in time. When the US brings tariff, this is not me saying there should be a negative fight or something, but when the US brings tariff, when you bring this, China brings this. China doubles it. So I think we should learn how to be self-sufficient and fight this matter. We are capable of fighting this or handling this matter on our own.
Cynthia, add your closing words as well.
Yes, we are capable of handling this matter on our own.
Cynthia said we are capable, and I join force with, or my voice with Cynthia to say that Nigeria is capable of fixing the problem. So as citizens, I need you to understand that you have a big role to play, whether it's through community vigilance or demanding accountability from your leaders. Okay, do that. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. What do you think? Should Nigeria embrace a fully decentralized policing model? Or do you think that we want Trump to come in and step in? Or can we fix the problem? Whatever your answers are, do well to reach out to us across our different social media platforms at Idea TV, on X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Do not forget also to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more conversation and, of course, replay of this discussion. Till then, my name is Chinatu Oji, and I've been with
Cynthia Basi.
Bye for now.